What's up, guys? It's Lefty here, and we are talking NFL Super Wildcard Weekend. Super Wildcard Weekend. Going to break down each game, cover some game theory and market analysis. You can find each game preview on my YouTube channel. I discuss a bunch of different angles and trends for each game, but keep in mind, not all trends and angles from the regular season have the same edge in the playoffs. There are some that do. And members of the Betting Network Discord community are aware of most of these. One trend we see during Wildcard Weekend is that when home teams win, the over also hits roughly 60% of the time. When the road team wins, the under has an edge at 65%. So this might be something to think about if you are betting a side and total in the same game. But let's get into the Giants-Vikings game here. These two teams played on Christmas Eve in a thriller, went down to the wire. Minnesota ended up winning with a 61-yard field goal at the buzzer. It was a close, hard-fought game, and the way I see this matchup is real simple. If the Giants play the way they did in Minnesota on Christmas Eve, then betting them at +3 is a good bet. But if you assume the Giants will play like they have on a bigger sample size or based on their full season performance, then Minnesota -3 is probably a good bet. So really, this is a tricky matchup. I actually have both teams rated below average. I know some might be thinking, like, how is that possible? They're in the playoffs. But with 7 teams making the playoffs from each conference, not all teams are going to be above average teams. So, and also wins and losses, although, they're important for a team's success, they don't accurately measure a team's true performance or their overall ability. And, my power ratings aren't based on my opinion or anything, but rather a combination of several different metrics that I think are important when weighing a team's ability. One of those is expected wins using a team's point differential, and both the Vikings and Giants actually have negative point differentials. And based on their Pythagorean wins, which is their expected wins based on points scored and points allowed, they both should be around an 8-win team. The Vikings actual wins, of course, are 13, and that's because they've won a ton of close games by a small margin. In fact, last week's game was only the Vikings' second win this season by a margin of more than one score. So they've won 11 of 13 games by just one score or less. And, winning games by a single score typically means that the team had a lot of luck variance. And, of course, there's something to be said for a team that always finds a way to win close games. But the difference between winning and losing single possession games is, often decided by good fortune. One bad call from the ref, one tipped ball interception, or like a fluke fumble, or a special teams mistake. All these and more, can be the difference between winning and losing. There's a lesson in the Betting Network Discord community on how to calculate a team's Pythag wins. It's pretty simple and can be used in any sport. It's a great way to figure out if a team's like overachieving or underachieving. And then with that info, you can use it as a way to kind of predict a team's, future games, if they're going to regress or progress. And it's pretty accurate. And, just to be clear, even though the Vikings have overachieved this year, it's not all luck, of course. They're a really well-coached team. They don't make many mistakes, and they're near the top of the league in third down conversion rate. The Giants are, similar in a lot of ways and have made up for weaknesses with solid coaching. I think Giants head coach Brian DeBall might actually be the coach of the year, in my opinion. What he's done with this roster is pretty impressive. And even though Minnesota is favored in this game, the Giants are actually better statistically. No matter what metrics you use or go by, either if it's EPA or DVOA, the Giants have the better offense and are the healthier team coming into this game. Vikings have a good amount of guys who are either not playing or will be playing hurt. The Giants basically had a bye week last week, sitting starters, but the Vikings also sat a bunch of players too, so there really isn't a rest advantage for either team here. Defensively, both teams are pretty bad and rated near the bottom of the league. Although the Giants do have sort of like a bend but don't break type defense. They have the 5th ranked red zone defense, I believe, but the overall rank on defense is still pretty bad for both teams. So really, with that said, it's no surprise that some over money came in when these lines opened up. Went from 47.5 up to 48.5, which 1 point might not seem like a lot, but 48, you got to remember, is somewhat of a key number for totals, as it's like a popular outcome. And I agree with this line move here on the over, and that's probably the only way I'd play this game. Or maybe over first half. The Vikings have allowed 95 first quarter points. It's the most in the league. And if I do make a bet on this game, an official bet, it'll be posted in the Betting Network Discord community. Link to join is in the description below this video. But that's going to do it for this one. Good luck with all your bets. And as always, may all the refs' calls and all the loose balls go your